it seemed like
Yeah.
the allocation of resources to me and just coordinating all of that is, you're right, it's something that's been kind of demonized in our society. You know, people tend to think of this position as like a privileged class, but it sounds like it's a lot of work to get to where you are and to build an organization like this.
Well, it is, and hopefully it isn't, because at some point, hopefully we can have, almost to steal the Bitcoin analogy, nodes. And that's how I look at it, is all these teammates, myself included, are all nodes who are basically on Twitter, and we're seeing in real time different needs. And then we're popping them up, whether it's, they're tweeting at me or whether they're solving it themselves. I mean, there's this huge viral community of people helping each other, sending Bitcoin, sending Cash App. I mean, 2 years ago, this stuff was unheard of. And so today it's, it's more prevalent, and I think it's only going to continue.
Yeah. Have you gotten to use the tips feature of Twitter yet?
Not yet. No, I'm looking forward to it though.
Yeah, it should be turned on any day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be fun.
That'll make my life easier, which is not, the purpose of it, but it does reduce the friction to getting people resources, which I think will be very, very helpful.
Yeah, to me, it would seem that you could help more people if you could simply facilitate the transactions through Twitter.
Correct.
Yeah, like otherwise you're going to need to, because the nice thing about, I'm sure you've used Strike, is you can take it out in your own currency. You don't even have to think about Bitcoin. You can just send them money in whatever currency, and they'll receive it in however they like.
Yeah.
That's a good deal. So how do you go about that process now? How do you facilitate these transactions? Like, what if these people have never heard of Bitcoin, or do you only send it?
Well, that's been an education, but I will tell you, 2 years ago, a lot of people did not know about Bitcoin. A lot of people thought Bitcoin was a scam. But I will tell you, just from anecdotal experience, which, is not necessarily proof, but just from anecdotal experience, I can tell you that people now know really what Bitcoin is. And I would say 80% of people now are comfortable accepting it, which is very different than 2 years ago. 2 years ago, it was like 20%, if that, on Twitter. And again, this is all just anecdotal experience as it relates to Bitcoin and usage of it amongst, mobile users for purposes of what we're doing. But historically, they've put up their Cash App. Some people put up Bitcoin addresses, but I think that pretty much on the Twitter platform, because there were so many scams and frauds and those type of things, you shied away from that. That's why having this button, so to speak, or the ability to, go onto somebody's profile, I think will just make it so much more frictionless.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of like education in place, or do you leave it totally up to the recipient how and why to use the Bitcoin? Like, do you incentivize them to self-custody it, or to use an exchange, or is there any education there?
I've just pretty much used it through Cash App now. I think and I've tried to do my, as much as I can, educating people on it, and not your keys, not your coins, those type of things. But I think that as people get more and more educated, as I mentioned, 20% of people were fine accepting Bitcoin 2 years ago, maybe even less. And today I would say 80+% people are fine taking Bitcoin. I mean, I know it sounds crazy that people weren't willing to take it 2 years ago, but it's just, again, anecdotally, it's true, because people thought, oh, are you going to do something to scam me or something like that? And so anyway, yeah. So it's been through Cash App, and, we'll see what happens in the future. So, I got every exchange is trying to get me to push their thing and whatnot. My focus is really on, on getting, Bitcoin adoption more than anything else. And Cash App has been the most seamless, just from a user standpoint.
I found that too. I mean, it was odd to me at first, but then you kind of watch Jack Dorsey over any period of time, and you realize, this guy's for real. He really means well for the world, and he appears to mean well and want Bitcoin only to be adopted, you know? It's a great Bitcoin only exchange. I mean, they have stocks on the platform, but I love Cash App.
Yeah, and it was the easiest, people early on. I mean, I've done things with Coinbase, with Cash App, but it was the easiest to use. And, that's what general people want, right? So if you have cancer and you need groceries, you don't give a shit. You want the money. Give me the grocery money.
Is there a point where, I mean, is it kind of like a one-time thing, or how do you decide when someone has received enough resources? Obviously, you could expend endless resources on any given person. So how do you make that cut?
It's very difficult. We have a 501c3 called Team Giving, which is run by a team that I interface with, and they're constantly vetting people. They have a certain criteria. They have a checklist. You can formally apply at teamgiving.com. And, so we do go through those things. In terms of me giving away my own money, I wouldn't say I'm very lenient, because I'm not, but I'm more trusting than not. And what I mean by that is, if I can help 80% of people and 20% of them are scams, hypothetically, or let's say I think it's way less than that. Let's say 10% of them are scams, 90% of them are people who need help. I'll take those odds all day long, because if I go and I give it to, some centralized charity organization, for example, how do I know that my intent is really going to hit the recipient's bank account? Whereas with Twitter philanthropy, if I can give money and then boom, have it go to somebody's bank account, in the year 2021, or certainly back in 2019, that was a big, big deal. And so that's really what I think is the future. And I think that's why Twitter philanthropy has gone so viral. One of the things, and I should mention this, is a lot of people think that a lot of my followers or a lot of my teammates on this team are people who just need money. It's actually ironic in the sense that I would say the majority of people are either there to learn how to become wealthy themselves or to help other people. In fact, every time, and it may sound crazy that that's the case, but every time that I give money to people, or not every time, but a lot of the time, they want to then give it to other people. It's the weirdest phenomenon in the entire world. And people are all the time donating to other people inside of my feed. I'm not even a part of it. And so it's as you can tell, I'm pretty excited about it. So
yeah.